People of Reddit, what do you remember being the worst thing about being a kid? People, teachers for example, could blame you for whatever or give exaggerated punishments and you had little voice to correct things. Someone tried to suspend me from school cause I once rolled my eyes once at a school dance. I had Perth's disease in my right hip and it hurt to run. I told my pet teacher. She told me to stop faking. She let a popular girl sit out for the whole lesson 3 hours because she had a splinter in her finger. I had a doctor's note saying not to make me run the mile because of my asthma. They still made me run it, then acted shocked when I passed out. I had to learn mile limits the hard way. Similar thing here. I said I would do as much as my hip allowed me to. Nope. Whole 3 hours. And I did not have elevator access at the time. So I had to walk up the stairs to art after 2 flights. I had to call my dad to pick me up at the end because I could not walk to the bus stop. I hope things are better for you now. Time dragging. Everything when you are a kid just takes so damn long unless it is something fun you are doing. This is the one for me. There is plenty of things that sucked, but they all come back around to the fact that everything bad or boring felt like it took 10 times as long as it feels now, and things were boring far more often. Forced to visit abusive father until I was old enough for the courts to believe me. Yeah. I remember being really happy when my dad's place caught fire. I never had to spend the night there again. I don't remember how the fire started, but that was one of the best days of my life. Feels weird to say a fire was a good thing, but it sounds like a blessing in your situation. I am glad it got you out of night visits. Having worse emotional regulation. Negative emotions can definitely be overwhelming at any point in life, but not having any strategies to calm down due to life experience was pretty awful in hindsight. Notice how most toddlers and little kids cry and throw tantrums at random times. Most adults have learned to control or oppress those feelings more appropriately. I still remember when one of my friends was little, seeing her crying quietly to herself, so I asked her what was wrong. My favorite crayon broke, she said sadly, showing me the crayon with its tip snapped off. She is almost 19 now, graduated high school with honors, and is an essential worker during the pandemic and definitely does not cry over crayons anymore. I get that. Even at 27 I get a minor pang of slight sadness if something breaks. Mostly because I really do not like to throw things away, and I'm out to buy another one. So annoying. It does depend on what it is. Of course, a pencil is not going to have the same response as a set of headphones or a laptop. My psycho, Pentecostal grandmother not letting me have a childhood at all. If you've ever read Carrie by Stephen King, Carrie's mom was on point with my grandmother so much so that I couldn't finish the book because it was chillingly accurate. Edit wow. Was not prepared for some of these responses. Thank you all for sharing your own experiences. It's really comforting to know I wasn't alone. Edit to I am much better these days. 3 years of EMDR therapy did wonders. Thank you for asking. Interest peaked. Grew up in Pentecostal family, but had a relatively positive experience. Finding it harder though as an adult with children to break free from my mother's expectations of how to raise a child. We don't attend church. It's a sore subject. I love that you spelled the word peaked correctly. Being told stop lying when trying to tell my parents about being molested by my grandfather. He confessed on his deathbed out of wanting some resolution to this situation, which clearly was much more difficult and left unresolved for much longer for you. Did that get your parents to commit to any sort of acknowledgement? Just a half-added sorry and they went on like nothing happened. And they wonder why I never call and live across the country. Well, I can only personally relate to things I have tried getting my parents to be clear about, along the lines of sorry for what, specifically, and the frustration there in knowing that there is still a lack of understanding. Point being, apologies and going on like nothing happened do not go hand in hand. And it is perfectly understandable that you do not call it is just willful ignorance on their part, and you deserve better than that. I'm sorry your parents did not manage that, and can only say that at least you are giving yourself better than that in deciding who to have in your life. It is the least though. You deserve better. Teachers being a holes, other children being cruel cunts. Adults talking about your appearance, demeanor, as if you could not hear or understand. I so vividly remember the way adults used to talk over my head, as though I could not understand a word they were saying. It is ducking bizarre. Way too many adults just have this weird vindictiveness when it comes to children, as if they enjoy having power over this one human and think they can fight back. It's strange. I'm pretty sure that a lot of adults do not consider children to really be people, more like they are possessions. I mean, really pay attention to how people talk about children, how they say they should be able to treat children, and see how a lot of them actually do. It is completely ducked. Lived with bipolar mother until I was 12. Was not a fun experience. My father-in-law is bipolar, and man, it is exhausting as an adult, especially when he is unmedicated. I am relieved he and my million divorced when my husband was young. The damage he managed to do in that time was bad enough. I hope you've found peace in your adult life. I constantly felt trapped and my life was going nowhere. I much prefer being older with my own vehicle, bank account, job, etc. Enjoy life now. Cause you got bills when you older proceeds to tell me how to wear my hair. Laughing my butt off. No, I have never seen a more succinct way of shutting down the "we had so much more freedom as kids" crowd. I will take the bills. Thanks. Being told to suppress emotions. Now I barely open up to people unless I can really trust you. But even that fails. Cause most of my friends just screw me over. I want to give a hug, but have this free award from a broke redditor. Living under constant threat of punishment. Having no autonomy and control of my life. School is a ducking dystopia. My head teacher actually explained how our school is a dictatorship and how if anyone stepped out of his military perspective on how he thinks all of us in the school should act, but as an actual person he's actually a nice guy. As a head teacher he's a piece of shit. We were trying to have our final trial exams like finals, but to check if how well we would do, I dunno. I'm Polish, result in no grades. There was a pandemic and we just wanted to know how much more work we have to put in. The head literally said that we need a real whip above our heads or we will not work hard enough. Jesus Christ. My school won't give us or mock exam, just a trial exam before we do our actual GCSEs grades, because they think it will demoralize us and we will stop working. We all just want to know how to improve and how much more work we need to put in. But I don't get why on earth your head said that you needed a literal whip to work hard enough. Whenever I was going through something, people were like, "Oh, you re just over exaggerating." I wasn't. Similar. Being told it's just your age. Turns out it was depression. I hate that so much. Even if it is puberty hormones induced moodiness and sadness, their feelings are still real. They still in emotional pain and adults are just gonna ignore it because it's hormonal. Ducking bullshit. Right. When I was pregnant I felt like it was a lot like being thrust back into teenagerhood after being in the adult world for several years and going back. It was weird. Like, I was hungry and tired a lot. Little things made me feel like crying, and I felt really vulnerable all the time. People were weirdly gentle with me. Like I could tell they were just humoring me a lot of times. Being a teenager is legit hard. Having to go to bed at 9 PM. If I had to do that now I would be up at 3 AM wondering where the sun was. My bedtime was multiply 7:30 PM until I hit second grade. Then it got pushed up to 9 PM, which lasted until I was 11 and basically my mom got tired of harassing me to go to bed. I would still get in trouble if she noticed my bedroom lights were on past 10 though. Yeah, that sounds pretty reasonable and similar to mine as well. Fridays and Saturdays nights were fair game. But on a school night 8 PM was my bedtime until like grade 3. Sundays I could stay up a bit later because Simpsons was on at 8. Then I remember at some point it was bumped up to 9 PM. And then, when I hit 10 or 11 my bedtimes were 10. Poor and hungry. Same. Never had my own clothes, only wear those that my brother or father grew over. Looking back at it, having to bum my parents to drive me everywhere was a gigantic pain in the butt. The real reason outdoor functioning and safe public transport is how much more independence it grants, how many doors it opens to hobbies, etc. when you are not limited to your immediate surroundings. The environmental benefits are great and all, but do you know how amazing it is to be able to do something else than the sports offered by the nearest sports club? Thing about my town is even now public transport sucks huge butt. The bus routes don't go anywhere where I need to go, and the bus always has a homeless man soaked in his own urine, taking a nap somewhere in the bus. That's the worst, and I'm eternally grateful that it was not something that I had to deal with. I hate when public transport sucks, and then the people in power go, look, it does not work. Like, of course it does not work when you made it as unusable as you possibly could. Honestly, the condition of public transport is either a positive circle or a negative one, but it is circle feeding itself nonetheless. The beatings, the justification later, sometimes accompanied by a well-rehearsed sob story about how bad they had it when they were kids. My dad never bothered with explanations. If I asked, at best I would get something to the effect of "I do not tolerate disrespect," and at worst I would get "you know what you did." Either way I would get it more if I asked. So eventually I learned to stop doing that. Welp. Just picture the state-run nursing home he is now in. Having acne. Oh, that is a bummer. I hated being called pizza face. Girls asking me can I pop it. At least girls wanted to touch you. Yuck, not that way. The zit would pop on them and they would run away disgusted. Mum's tuna pasta bake every single Friday night. Every Friday night. I haven't eaten tuna since. My family used to make squash casserole multiple times a week. Disgusting. I can still remember exactly what it tasted like. And by family I'm talking parents, grandparents, and even my cousins who live next door. So still, no escape. Did your family grow the squash? If not, why was your whole family obsessed with cooking them? Being talked to like a kid. I was not a genius by any means, but remember as far back as 10 years old, I hated being talked to like a kid. This for me too. As an adult now I never talk down to kids. Kids absolutely love me for it. Same. When I was about 6 I remember being fed up with being treated like a kid and felt so humiliated and dehumanized by it, and swore to myself I would never treat children that way as an adult. Some of my closest friends are people I met when I was a teen and they were little kids, and they like me to start because I have kept my oath. I totally agree. My favorite uncles and aunts, even adults in general, were the ones that would talk to me the same way as they talk to anyone else. I do not know why some people talk to or treat children like they are toddlers. Do not they remember what it was like at that age? Let them try to express themselves or do things, even if it means they will not do it perfectly the first time. That's how they will learn. You get no say in what you are going to eat. There is a meal served and you have to eat it and you will have to like it. In hindsight, after seeing the world around, I was well fed, so that was nice. I had multiply 90 of the meals served growing up. As an adult, I look back and appreciate the efforts that went into those meals. I had severe allergies and could not eat any normal foods at all, so my mom basically spent her entire life researching food and cooking. Then she was always kind to me when I turned my nose up at what she had worked so hard on. At least now I'm old enough to tell her thanks. My mom made loads of mistakes, but she really shines in some other ways. This, as a mother of 2 and one incredibly picky 5-year-old, this gives me hope. Not having adults around that have self-awareness and understand that their behavior impacts their kid's psyche. Holy shit, this one speaks volumes. Thank you for watching. We hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe for more videos.